Hi everyone, this is Leonard Smith from Sense Memory. Just spent the day with Michal Gizinski and Hilary Ravis Randall, two wonderful friends who are also my fragrance gurus and teachers. And we spent the day discussing two fragrances. So here's the first of the conversations we had. I hope you enjoy it.
Good morning, everybody. Michal Gizinski, and I'm happy to be here this Sunday with one of the most phenomenal people in the world of parfum, Hilary and Michael. And for many of you, they are not unknown faces, and their incredible knowledge very much influenced my desire to dig more into the world of parfum. And we had this idea a few weeks ago that we will discuss, three of us, two of the parfums that are available here. Actually, one of them is available, one is coming in about 2 months or a month. And the first one is Iris de Champ. Iris de Champ of the house of Houbigant, released last year, one of the most labored parfums, as I understand, in many years. It took them almost 8 years to make that fragrance because of the very long process of drying the bulbs of iris, thousands of them, and then cooking them and then creating la beurre de riz, from which the whole fragrance had its beautiful start. And it is one of those magic scents that I hope to be sharing with you and with everybody else in the next months or maybe years. But it truly is. It is one of the most transparent fragrances I've ever encountered. And I remember some years ago at the meeting with Frédéric Malle, there was something very interesting that he said that I allow myself now to call this fragrance and transparent. He talked a lot about his idea of creating a parfum depending on what he sees when he smells a muette with a note. He saw colors, I remember, and it was a revelation for me, but I understand why. When I first smelled without seeing the bottle yet and the juice of Iris de Champ, I saw for the first time transparency, a absolute clarity, and that did not change. I still see it, and I think it is one of the noblest, if that's a proper word, the most noble of the noblest fragrances that one can imagine. And we'll talk in a second a little bit about the structure of this perfume, but if you do not know this, I very much encourage everybody who has any interest of fragrance to try Iris de Champ, both ladies and gentlemen. It is not only transparency in the scent, but it's unbelievable nobility of a scent.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And the
I
rarity
agree
of the
with you.
scent.
You know, and this is so interesting as a unisex fragrance, because what it really conveys is noblesse oblige, of elegance, of a subtle sense of dignity, and a little bit of an aloof quality of a message of richesse. I really found with this fragrance that you had a sense of someone who is living in a different place, who is concerned with banal everyday existence. It's a fragrance of the mind, of books, of reading, of a solitary walk, Iris de Champ, in the fields of nature, and picking up those subtle scents of botanicals that this fragrance recalls to me. It has a beautiful, clean leather, botanical floral. It is not a fruity or a white floral indolic scent. It, to me, I had told Michael a few years ago, it reminds me of the inside of Grace Kelly's Hermes purse.
Oh,
And
all right.
that sense of of Grace Kelly and of royalty that does not have to show or demonstrate its focus, but it's rather a subtle, introspective fragrance. It's quite elegant, and I think very subtle, and a good choice for men and women to wear.
Definitely. Right. Michael wrote about this fragrance.
I can't
He's
remember what
famous
I wrote.
for everybody else.
Wonderful.
For all of us blog, he wrote incredible story about Iris Deschamps, and without pause, I can recommend. I think we both can recommend.
We both, yes, we're so
reading
impressed.
Michael's blog on Iris Deschamps. But what is your opinion? What is your idea, and what is your
Well, when
thoughts on that?
Hillary mentioned Grace Kelly, there's a thing about Iris, and you'll find that in the beautiful Dior Homme. There's a gorgeous Iris, and you'll find that in Prada Infusion d'Homme, Infusion d'Iris, Iris, and in this one. But this one is, in my opinion, the best. This just has that. The thing I talk about in Iris is that, to me, it's a cool blonde. It is remote, it's austere, and yet it's very sensual without being overtly sexy, and it's inviting and mysterious, and yet it keeps you at an arm's length at the same time, but draws you in. So it's that kind of play between sensuality and what's the word for when when you're in a monastery, what's that word? Monastic.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the kind of thing I get from it. And this one, to me, is just the most beautiful iris I've ever smelled. I just love this fragrance. So that's kind of what I get from it.
And I hear what you're saying, because I also like the Infusion d'Iris of Prada, the Eau de Toilette, because I like the muguet note. And even though there's muguet in this, it doesn't have that feminine quality to it. It's
Correct.
more complex, which I find that Houbigant and Paris fragrances have a sophisticated subtlety that really asks the wearer of the fragrance to step up a little bit and imagine the possibilities of these other notes. I found that in a variety of things. And I'd also like to say that one of the things that I found was that if one does sprays a little bit of the Iris Deschamps, and then if one wants to add a little soupçon of maybe freshness, maybe it's warmer weather, or one is feeling in a particularly fun and outgoing mood, one can layer it with the Paris Musc Extrême, which really is a lovely softening with the musk and the aldehydes of the leather note.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
And it really gives that whole vista of walking in a field of wildflowers in early spring. It has this expansive, optimistic allure that is just lovely. It's almost like you've taken a shower in dew,
it's a
dewdrops or
very-
something.
In morning
It's a
dew.
beautiful
Yes.
take.
It's a beautiful
I never
layering.
would think of use combination with it, but what stays on your skin, and with this scent, which is so unusual, it is, in my opinion, the greenest of all irises. It is earthiness, greenness, and austerity, and that's the beauty of iris to start with. Many irises that we smell in many parfums, and some of them are good. You mentioned Balenciaga, yes? And there is, of course, Hermes.
And there's l'artisan,
Iris, and there's
with the Iris
l'artisan.
pallida.
But it always seemed to me that they were skin powdery tones,
Yes.
which that has a hint of. But then after the hint of powderness, we go into this whole earthy, skin-like transparency.
Yes, this
No
is the least
matter where you
powdery
are.
of all of the ones we've
It's the
discussed.
least powdery, and it has the most depth, I think, in
Correct.
terms of the base note quality of it, without being overly woody and rooty that the rhizome of the iris can be. It has that sense of the gloves that were perfumed for royalty, and that's probably why my image of the Iris de Champ would be these maybe white suede driving gloves that people could use with the horse maybe a couple of centuries ago. It has that scent of wealth and luxury that is subtle and beautiful.
And let's not forget, this is Houbigant. So it wouldn't be Houbigant if they didn't do something very Houbigant-like. And in this case, we have two iris forms here. We have the Absolu d'Iris and we have the La Beurre d'Oris. And in the Absolute of Iris, in this case, they added a petal of rose, which makes it even rounder as a fragrance. A beautiful, this was made by Gianluca Perri, and of course it is the greatest of the edition for the Houbigant, created 2 years ago, and this is the last of the series of beauties that we had from that line.
And just a footnote on that, the packaging was also completely inspired. And Michael, you had mentioned that in your blog, that once you open the box,
I have
and
it. Keep talking.
it is a reinforcement and an expansion of the synesthesia of the color and fragrance connection of this scent. So when you take it home and you open that box and see this wonderful fragrance inside, you're reminded of just the whole complete thought of how this fragrance was created, and it gives the wearer a time and a place for that concept, which is really special.
Absolutely. One more thing I would like to add. I think it looks to me that, and it seems to me like three of us like very much Iris de Champ. What we were talking about is eau de parfum. It comes in the form of parfum. So for all of us who like it, you can only imagine what parfum is like. And it is nothing of a short of a phenomenal fragrance, and I really mean it. The greenness of the parfum and the delicacy of the parfum is quite incredible. If you have a chance, when you go to Neiman Marcus, ask for both, for eau de parfum version and for pure parfum version. They differ a little bit. Nobility, of course, will be the same, but you will be surprised what happens on your skin when you try both and compare them. Something definitely not to miss, one of the pearls, don't you think?
I think
Yes.
so.
In the world of parfum. And it's such a pleasure to talk about something that is so unique and so noble.
Noble is the word. I truly agree with you.
Noble. Iris de Champ.
Noble.
Houbigant.
Lovely.
Beautiful.